Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today, I have a recurring guest here. He was actually on the first ever episode of this channel. We have Luca, a developer building on Ergo. Welcome.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me again.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking this interview on short notice. So, as a developer building on Ergo, you've worked on a few projects and continue to work on some new ones as well. You've worked on Excel, which is peer-to-peer lending. You've worked at Swap, and you continue to do so, which is wow, I
Uh,
hate to, I don't remember exactly.
it's decentralized miner profit swapping, so miners can like get a payout in a different token on Ergo.
And also, you're working on Lilium, and you've also worked and gave a helping hand at ErgoPad, which is sort of like a crowdfunding platform to help projects bring up startup capital. So you've been doing quite a lot. Um, why did you decide in the first place to build on Ergo when you could have maybe picked some other platforms out there that are much well known and maybe have a higher demand for developers currently?
Well, when I first started, like I didn't really know anything about like uh cryptography, cryptocurrency, or that you could like work in it as like an industry. So when I first learned about it, I just wanted to like do research and learn about like what it was. And I like in a way it's like kind of just luck in a way because or my personality, I like science and research. So I went down that road and I enjoy listening to podcasts. So when I saw like Charles Hoskinson and Lex Friedman, that I went down that rabbit hole for Cardano and then that led me to Ergo. So it's sort of my interest in like science, computer science, and like research. And yeah, because and those are like the values behind Ergo and Cardano. Whereas if I was strictly purely like money motivated, then I probably would have just gone to the other blockchains. So it's just due to my personality, which is luck.
Right. Have you ever dabbled in any of the other scripting languages or any of the other programming languages that are used, for example, on Ethereum Solidity or Haskell with Cardano or Plutus, I should say?
Well, I did try to learn Haskell, but then I got distracted with Ergo. And I remember going like when I early on in university to some early blockchain event. And I think there was, I don't remember it, but it was about Ethereum. And I think they were trying to like do a little tutorial on Solidity, but I was too young to like really understand what was going on. But I haven't actually looked into it since then.
So when you're building things on Ergo, we hear a lot about ErgoScript being based off Scala and being quite easy to pick up for people that are in the developer community. Do you also concur with that sort of association with ease of use and simplicity in design, but yet having those powerful Sigma protocols and kind of this Turing completeness that are kind of words that get thrown around a lot. But I'm just wondering if you what's your experience been like with ErgoScript?
Yeah, ErgoScript is really easy to learn and use. It's actually a lot of fun. In my theory of computing class, we learned about like finite state machines and deterministic finite automaton. And you can think of ErgoScript or like the UTXO model as like a way to program finite state machines. So it's actually like fun in a weird way. It's not Turing complete. The language isn't Turing complete because you can't have infinite loops. But the paper from Kushti uh, shows that you can like equate the UTXO model and like the Ergo blockchain to some a rule from cellular automaton theory from Stephen Wolfram, and they proved that it was that the blockchain over transactions, like over you can show that it's Turing complete. It's I forget the paper's name is self-reproducing coins as universal Turing machines, which is like a cool name. But yeah, sorry for the tangent, but yeah, it is easy to use the ErgoScript.
And for the UTXO model, now that you briefly touched on that, could you give a brief explanation in your own words of how that model functions and why it is a really good and fascinating model to be able to work with?
Oh, okay. I actually made a video when I was working at ErgoPad last summer, like a whole education lecture series for for beginners to explain. But I've never had to do it in person, so I'll try. Uh, so well on Ergo, like there's a formal paper that explains it, which is kind of complicated to read. But on Ergo, you just think of it as like transactions that have inputs and outputs. And and I mentioned before, like it's a way to program finite state machines. And the thing with finite state machines is that it's like a deterministic model of computation. So whenever you're writing ErgoScript, for example, you have to like explicitly define what like your inputs are, what the outputs are, what data you want there to like be transferred from one input to one output, for example. So everything has to be explicitly fully defined, which is what makes it deterministic and why it's like one of the reasons why it's secure. Uh, so yeah, so that's yeah, and what makes the UTXO model like the extended part, whereas because
Mhm.
for example in Bitcoin it's just called the UTXO model. With extended UTXO, you can have arbitrary like data associated to to a UTXO. So in with respect to Ergo, this would be like the registers in the box that you're able to have arbitrary data. And then and since the transaction has to take an input and then create an associated output, you can have like change of state occur over transactions. So like you could have like for example, like some in one box that initially has a certain value, like a counter, for example, and then at the next transaction, the new output will have that value incremented by one. And so you have like this data that can be updated and transferred across transactions over time.
Perfect. Do you have any insight to which tools are sort of underrated on Ergo that you would like to see used more often that nobody's really picked up and run with yet?
You mean like developer tools?
Yes.
Um, well, I like I'm not much of a front end person. I like doing back end stuff, so I like using Scala a lot. And the default like library that any developer will like who wants to learn about developing on Ergo will use AppKit. But if you're into front end, there's like the Fleet SDK, which is created by Captain Nemo, who created Nautilus,
Hmm.
and it's like the intent is to make a library that's can let you do the same things that AppKit can do, but in like a web-based environment. So a lot of developers know like JavaScript and HTML and all the web languages. And so this is like a way, the intent was also to make a way to like onboard a lot of developers, like web developers, because they can just use the blockchain right away with their web projects. And it's like it's well documented as well, so it's like easy to use.
What do you think it would take for developers to see Ergo the same way that you see Ergo and figure out like, oh, I have really good tooling here and make that the priority versus other incentives that can get to be the main objective of many developers in the space.
Well, maybe like as an example, when I was first trying like learning about Cardano, I was like curious about how like what it would take to develop on it. So I tried to learn a bit of Haskell at the beginning, but I found it uh much more difficult to get started on Cardano. Whereas when I looked into Ergo, it was a lot easier. And even at the time, like around a year and a half ago, it wasn't as good as it is now. Um, it's just about like getting awareness out, I think, because now we have actually good developer tools since because of Fleet and because of AppKit as well. So I think we just need to have like bring awareness about Ergo. I think developing on it is actually not the problem necessarily. It's just the awareness of the blockchain itself. Because I think a lot of people don't actually know what it is.
And do you feel awareness should come from the Ergo Foundation, should come from the community, should come from centralized exchange, those things, marketing, or interconnection with something such as Rosenbridge? What do you think would be the proper way to bring awareness to the tools we have, or by simply creating something that would be more useful than what's already out there, maybe on other blockchains?
Um, hmm, I think like all of the above, but I know a lot of people are focused on Twitter and sort of on marketing, but I think it also requires like in-person activities. And it obviously comes down to like budget and stuff. So the Ergo Foundation can necessarily do those things, but I think it's just a mix of all of those and in-person events. Because all the well, whenever I hear about like some new VC chain or whenever I look at the mainstream crypto media, which is rather like sad, you always hear about like these crypto parties, and you're like, what are these people doing? I guess we need those types of events for Ergo.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't think the developer tools are the center of those parties. I think like the Bitcoin conference down here in
Yeah,
Miami, I'm not sure what they'll be doing except you know, reinforcing their religious beliefs around their blockchain. So yeah, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, it does require some sort of fanfare, right? I remember what was that? Solana. There used to be a Solana summer for no particularly good reason other than for marketing. It was like at a electric music festival or whatever. So
yeah,
it I guess it's kind of like in a way, and it's not a good answer or solution, but it's almost like people need to demand these things from the blockchains themselves, right? There's this allure of profitability and trying to make money and then liquidating it back into fiat. Speculative investing versus looking at what you can actually use the coins for. Does that
you're right.
frustrate you as a developer ever? Do you feel like you're in the minority here, but since, as you said, your personality kind of is attracted to these
Yeah,
things anyway, you don't
I think
mind?
it just like I think ultimately it's just like interest, right? Everyone's different. Everybody does things for different reasons, and I think so. You'll have a minority of people. One subset will is just interested in new technologies, science, or research, and then they'll look into that, and maybe they'll learn about Cardano and Ergo. Other people are interested in like just making a lot of money, so they'll go to the VC chains because they know they can get funding and support like right away. Um, and then other people, maybe the majority, I guess, like if you think who's a developer, right? It's someone who goes to school, learn about software engineering or computer science, and then what do they want? Well, they want to get a job after they graduate schools and somewhere they can like start a life, right? So it's the blockchain and then as an industry as a whole has to be a place where people can think of themselves as doing this as a career and having like actually like building like a meaningful life out of it, not just a quick like pump and dump sort of thing. And then once if we reach that point, then we will get a lot of people because I think that is the majority of people
Right.
or developers.
Now, what are you working on with Lilium for the people that are uninitiated with that? That came out of a recent Ergo Hack event, correct? Could you share some more insights on that and what prompted the idea to create Lilium?
Yeah, so when I was working at ErgoPad, I had one of my tasks was to make like a decentralized like minting tool for that was meant for Blitz for the card game to mint like the sell mint and sell the card packs. But it was kind of complicated, and in order to like meet the deadlines or whatever, they decided to do a more centralized uh solution. So but I still like the idea of like decentralized minting, and then using AVL trees that the Plasma AVL trees. So for ErgoHack, I partnered with my friend MG who's another developer in the Ergo ecosystem, who also went through the DeCo program.
So, so what is the sort of learning curve that is involved when you decide to learn ErgoScript and also when you decide to try new ideas on Ergo? Because it seems that whatever up until this point you've put your mind to, you have been able to manifest or work on in some way. And you've worked on a variety of different projects. So I'm just wondering kind of the learning curve or the tools and the sort of experience you have to be able to pull these things off and help out other projects and build up your own.
Yeah, so um, well, when I first started, like obviously I didn't know about ErgoScript, and I didn't actually know Scala at all. I just kind of learned it as I went. Um, and then the projects that I worked on, it's because I was like interested in them. So I actually like cared about them. Uh, and so that's like that kind of motivates you to want to keep learning. Um, but I'm also not I don't have a PhD in cryptography, so there's obviously certain things I can't do. Like I would never know how to make a bridge, for example, like the Rosen bridge, or even like cheese enthusiast with Lethos protocol. Like I wouldn't know how to do that, even though it's like a super cool project. So it's a mix of like what you think you're capable of doing, or what interests you, and then if you have like really sort of a desire to learn, then you'll just keep doing it. So, but obviously learning how to program and understanding that helps.
Now, a lot of people may feel a bit helpless. They wish they can contribute in a more direct, meaningful way to building on Ergo. And they have creative ideas, but they may not know how to program. Do you have any insight into what you would advise a non-developer that would be interested in building on Ergo, the best way to go around it and learning ErgoScript and kind of getting involved little by little?
Um, well, if you want to if you're like a non-developer and you want to like become a developer, then I would first like learn how to program, I guess, and learn about computer science and like either go to school or like learning on your own somehow, and then like learn ErgoScript, I guess, because like it wouldn't like you would be trying to learn something, but you would be lacking the context, and that would make it even harder. Um, but then also you could also, I guess, for example, like Excel that came out of previous Ergo hack, and like Chris is a non-developer, but he partnered up with Keith, who was a developer. So there's also that option as well. I would still recommend like what I do when I work on a new project. I always like making transaction diagrams. So it helps me understand like the flow of what the transactions are, what are my inputs and outputs in like a visual way. So even if you're not a developer, you could like learn about the UTXO model and then design like your system like diagrammatically. And then that's like a good starting point. And then you could try to partner with a developer and then like give them that to work on. Or yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I would do.
No, it definitely does. There's a lot of helping hands out here in the Ergo community. And as you personally have seen, there's many opportunities for collaboration and to work and learn on other different types of projects. I mean, you've done quite a few that they all seem very unique from the outside looking in. So What has not been built on Ergo by developers that you're interested in seeing, for example?
Well, the project I'm the most excited about that I well, it's called Ethos. I know it's not, it hasn't, like, it's not actually, I don't know if it's what the status of it is, but I hope they figure out a way to make it happen because it is really cool. And I think it would be really beneficial to proof of work mining in general.
Right. Do
Uh,
you have
yeah.
like a brief summary of what Lethos is like, what they intend to do off the top of your head by any chance?
Um, so it's a way to, so right now, like when you want to be a miner, like you could solo mine, but you probably won't like get a block. It's unlikely. So you mine to a mining pool. And then there's like a protocol, called the Stratum uh, server that you have the mining pool set up, and that's how you can like connect. Um, but Cheese Enthusiast, he figured out a more cooler way to do it, which would let miners mine using their own node. Um, but it's like a way to do decentralized mining pools uh, that are, and it would there's like two party, someone who provides collateral and then a miner. And the collateral is used to help initially fund like the miner, so someone could mine without having any starting off with zero erg, for example. And forget the full name. It's like SNISPs, succinct non-interactive proofs that lets miners share proofs. Sorry, that lets miners submit share proofs to the mining pool, and then that's how they can figure out how to distribute the rewards properly. He wrote a paper for the one of the previous Ergo hacks that I recommend people find out and read. Yeah, I don't know if that was, I probably butchered that explanation. Sorry, cheese enthusiast, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, Karat is a great guy, and his experience with GetBlog has definitely helped him continue pushing for more applications, especially decentralized ones, when it comes to proof of work mining. Even GetBlock was incredibly innovative for the time they were up. I mean, nobody had really done anything in the mining space like they did, where you can earn different coins that were basically unminable while mining Erg. So, like a substitution, if you will, or get out a certain payout in a different coin. So, it opened up a whole can of worms where you could have initial miner offerings, fair mining, fair
Yeah,
initial mining offerings, something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
FIMO, FIMO.
FIMO.
Yeah,
And it was legitimately an interesting way to bootstrap a coin, a native token that would be issued on a blockchain from scratch without having any sort of team allocations and kind of cutting up the pie in any other way. And unfortunately, GetBlock, I suppose due to the bear market, they're kind of out of service, but it's amazing seeing Karat kind of continue where they left off and keep pushing for more tools. Ultimately, those are the ones that will also hopefully entice miners as the block rewards on Ergo go down. So, hats off to Karat. I was trying to also get him for an interview. He's been so busy. I'm sure I will soon. But yeah, I'm very interested in kind of the developers building in the bear market. It seems that it's very difficult to attract talent unless that
yeah.
talent is genuinely interested in what you're building in the first place. So that's where I keep going back to the fact like it kind of feels like the market sentiment in general has to demand more from the projects that are in this space, practical applications for the technology, bringing real world use cases to it, such as Zengate. It really feels like that's where a lot of the new users will come from. It won't be because they saw Ergon Kraken, for example, although that wouldn't be bad either for accessibility and liquidity, right? So, um, I
Yeah, you
wanted
gotta
to
solve real problems.
yeah, you got to solve real problems at the end of the day. Now, from a technology standpoint, where would you, out of the project, the blockchains that you've come into contact with, maybe you haven't dove into them as greatly as you did with Cardano or Ergo, but from a technology standpoint and a tooling standpoint, where do you see Ergo potentially being in terms of rank or market capitalization if the market really demanded best technology and best tooling?
I don't know if I'm like qualified to answer that question necessarily because I don't know a lot about like finance, to be honest, like that type of finance. uh, but I think like I don't know what it's like to develop on Ethereum or EVM chains. I'm sure the developer experience is probably like considering all the money they have, it's probably uh pretty good. I think like our menu has mentioned this before, but it's important that when we develop tools for developers that it's like all open source and documented very well, so new people can quickly learn them. Because he said that was like one of the major benefits of what Ethereum did is that all of their developer tooling was widely available, open source, and well documented. So it was easy to onboard new people. And I think I mean, AppKit is and Fleet as well is open source and well documented. Um, but any other tooling like that uh, is important to do that. And in terms of market cap, yeah, I don't know. That just seems like I don't know how to like rationally determine like what the market cap of a blockchain should be. It just seems completely random. Like so if the like all the VC coins are obviously overvalued in my opinion, but yeah, I don't know how to make sense of it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one. I think everybody kind of struggles to make sense of it. That's an honest assessment. I appreciate it. Now, I wanted to ask you in particular, how long do you anticipate to be building on Ergo? Is it as long as the fascination surrounding it can continue to bring new projects and challenges to you? Is that really what drives you at the end of the day, as you mentioned?
Um, yeah, I like it's like it's fun. It's like for like community. Um, there's like a clear sort of purpose and mission in general about the blockchain itself. And then when it comes to projects, I I pick projects that I'm interested on, but also have a clear like goal or purpose, and that's what keeps me motivated. And the projects that I have started, like WopSwap is, for example, that's like my own personal project with my two of my other teammates. As same thing with Lilium, and so I have a like I personally care about those things, and I will continue to do those like definitely. I suppose. Um. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, 100%. And being sort of based in the US, I assume, somewhere in North
No, I'm in
America.
Canada,
Ah,
East
you're in
Coast,
Canada. Well, being
Quebec.
in, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, being in North America, I should say, does the regulatory environment or the uncertainties around legislation ever concern you as a developer building kind of these frameworks? And you don't really know at the end of the day if you're going to be considered building something clandestine or not, or is that whole entire narrative irrelevant to what you build?
Well, so yeah, there's like I've actually thought about this like a bit. Uh, like I've considered like, oh, what it would be like if I moved to some other like crypto friendly country like Singapore? Like that could be fun. But at the same time, uh, like do I give up on like the country I come from, I guess, or the like the countries that are supposed to be part of the free world? Uh, and it is kind of sad that they're kind of messing up the crypto regulation. I don't understand it. As I get older, I kind of I'm trying. I want to be more like proactive in uh like uh like helping out regulators or getting involved in the government somehow, whatever way, as like an industry participant, like give feedback and like like what to do. Like I want to help out in that way if I can, and actually like be a good citizen. Uh, and if they keep doing bad regulations, well, I guess it comes to a point either where it's like so egregious that people like will just not will like won't care and will just keep making service like the products that they want, or they'll move. Um, and then there's also the other argument where like you just don't care what they do anyway. You just the kind of the purpose of crypto is to make uh, or software and products that are sort of irrelevant of like regulators because of privacy. So I'm
Right.
more in the first camp, I guess. I want to like I agree about like privacy with when it comes to transactions and money and all that stuff, but I also care about you know being in like creating being involved in a good society and having good laws that benefit everybody. And so yeah, sorry, that was like kind of a rant.
Well, I'm here to interview you, not me, so that's perfectly fine. That's a good, fair, level-headed, rational, logical approach, I would say. It can be quite difficult kind of living in North America and kind of feeling you're, I don't know, you're in limbo with what you're doing, or that you
Yeah,
don't
why
necessarily feel support. You don't feel support
the
for driving innovation at all.
right. Well, the other day I tried to look it up, like how could I get involved to like how would I reach out and like my elected representative or like in government to like give feedback. I don't know how to do that. Or um luckily in my province, the in Quebec, like the crypto laws aren't like super bad. They consider crypto as a commodity actually. And if you're using it to like buy things, they consider it as a form of bartering. So if you're running a business, you can treat crypto as like a way as like a business income. Or if you're just doing transactions, like small transactions once in a while, you just have to pay capital gains tax. And I know in other provinces the laws are much more egregious. So in that sense, I'm lucky. But yeah, um, I'm not sure like when governments or regulators want to create these laws or regulations, like what that process is like. Like I and how to get involved with that process.
Now, for Canada, doesn't it feel that they kind of over there wait for the US to take leadership on something and then kind of follow in step? Would that be a correct assessment? I'm asking because I'm not sure.
Uh, I'm not sure either, to be honest. I don't think. Yeah, I'm not. Like the even the federal like in terms of taxation, crypto is not like as bad as what I hear in the U.S. or even yeah, even from my partners like because I know one of my partners on GuapSop is from the US and the other one from Europe, and they tell me how messed up their laws are. So it's not as bad here, but yeah, I don't I don't know if they just like copy the US
Right,
because there's the there's federal law, but then there's also the provincial law. So each province will do whatever they want, I guess.
correct, correct. So for Ergo as a blockchain overall, do you feel like we have any strong weaknesses that you've encountered from a technology standpoint? Or do you feel like it's all there? It's just it needs to be more well documented and more exposed. Like the tools are all there, build what you'd like. We just need the people to the builders, so to speak.
Um, yeah, I think I would agree with that. There's obviously like depending on your application, like I don't know what we'll need in like 5 or 10 years. But for all the, I think the things you see now on other blockchains, they could be created on Ergo now. So it is just about, I think, data awareness.
Are there any other future projects that you envision building yourself or participating in on Ergo?
Um,
And do you intend to make use of the Rosen Bridge in any creative way? Is that something that's very tempting or attractive to you to kind of bridge assets over Cardano and maybe other UTXO based chains? Two questions in one, sorry.
yeah, so yeah, well, when it comes to like sometimes if there's a project that I like and someone else is working on and I'm interested, then maybe I'll reach out. But if it's something that I like come up with on my own, I have some ideas that I maybe would like. They're not fully formed necessarily, but it's more like as time goes on and I just get inspiration from something or like some idea, then and I think it's worthwhile pursuing, then I will. Um, and then what was the second part? Sorry.
Do you intend to make use of the Rosen Bridge at
Oh
some
yes.
point?
Yeah, so for Guap Swap, we want to do like um because right now I was delayed because of like personal issues and life stuff. So but we're getting back on track. So it'll let you do swaps with tokens native on Ergo, but it'd be cool if you could swap to like other blockchains. So we know that when Spectrum Finance launches their Spectrum network, like it'll potentially miners will be able to like mine Erg, but then get paid out directly in like ADA or BTC or whatever blockchain is connected to Spectrum with Rosen Bridge. I don't know if we could like bridge directly to another like you mine Erg and then get ADA directly using Rosen Bridge, but you could get like wrapped ADA. So off like Spectrum. So you could
Yeah.
mine Erg and then get paid out in wrapped ADA. And then I use that wrapped ADA with Rosen to switch it to actual ADA and then stake your ADA and then support Cardano uh the Cardano protocol by mining, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, we talked about that way back when. Jesper mentioned it, or I mentioned it, and he's like, "Yeah, that's exactly what we would want to do with Guap Swap."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
I
All the
have the
potential.
perfect
Yeah.
meme for it too as well.
It seems like there's a lot of potential in the Rosen Bridge that is very hard to kind of wrap your arms around because there's so many unlimited opportunities there.
Yeah, I
And
think
I,
people
yeah.
though, there's like I think that Rosen Bridge it takes like a few hours to get your token once you like swap it. So like I don't know like how it will be used necessarily with applications that need like instant like or near instant like swap to some other token. But any application that doesn't mind like having the users wait that long, then yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool.
Perfect, perfect. Well, with that being said, Luca, I think that's a good place to stop for now. Is there anything else you kind of want to highlight before we conclude the interview about the current state of the market or some projects you wish I would people would look into a bit more?
Uh, well, I wanted to actually give a shout out to your show because I think you're a good journalist, much better than a lot of the mainstream crypto journalists out there. And yeah, I personally super excited for Lethos, so I hope you get to interview those guys soon.
Yeah, no, definitely I'll get Karat on and we'll talk more. I want to highlight more of the developers as well in the community because you're doing
Yeah, you should join
the
the reach out on the Discord on like the development chat, I guess, or just see if anybody would want to participate. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know why I just never get on that thing. I always get spammed with a lot of notifications. I guess I have to quit a few chats. But I can do that. Yeah, definitely. I did Morphic, who I believe is Alexander Slezarenko, and that was very insightful. So yeah,
Yeah,
getting
that was
into
a
the
good interview.
minds. Oh, thank you. Getting into the minds of the people actually doing the building, especially in this market where everything seems like the shops are closed, right? And you guys continue to push and develop and build more things on the blockchain is very inspiring. It's very showing the resiliency that you have and the true passion you have for
Yeah,
building neat things in general that people hopefully will use, right?
when it comes to the bear market, I think for developers on Ergo, like it's only a problem in terms of like if you need funding to start your project. But other than that, like I don't personally care that it's whether it's what the state of the market is. Like I don't. I just gonna keep working. Life goes on.
Perfect. All right, Luca. Well, that's a great place to stop now. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to check out a few of the links I put in the description, things we've mentioned in this interview, and please support your developer community in and around Ergo and in the UTXO Alliance overall, I would say. So thank you all, and thank you, Luca.